Hi everyone. Today I'm going to give a reading from the Chinese book, the Tao Te Ching. So, Tao, or spelt Tao, pronounced Tao. The Tao Te Ching. Lao Tzu, approximately 6th century BC, translated by D.C. Lau, 1963. Book one. Way that can be spoken of is not the constant way. The name that can be named is not the constant name. The nameless was the beginning of heaven and earth. Named was the mother of the myriad creatures. Hence always rid yourself of desires in order to observe its secrets, but always allow yourself to have desires in order to observe its manifestations. These two are the same, but diverge in name as they issue forth. Being the same, they are called mysteries, mystery upon mystery, the gateway of the manifold secrets. The whole world recognizes the beautiful as the beautiful, yet this is only the ugly. The whole world recognizes the good as the good, yet this is only the bad. Thus something and nothing produce each other. Difficult and easy complement each other. Long and the short offset each other. High and the low incline towards each other. Note and sound harmonize each other. Before and after follow each other. Therefore, the sage keeps to the deed that consists in taking no action and practices the teaching that uses no words. Myriad creatures rise from it, it claims no authority. It gives them life, yet claims no possession. It benefits them, yet exacts no gratitude. It accomplishes its task, yet lays claim to no merit. It is because it lays claim to no merit that merit never deserts it. Not to honor men of worth will keep the people from contention. Not to value goods which are hard to come by will keep them from theft. Not to display what is desirable will keep them from being unsettled of mind. Therefore, in governing the people, the sage empties their minds and fills their bellies, weakens their wills, but strengthens their bones. He always keeps them innocent of knowledge and free from desire, and ensures that the clever never dare to act. Do that which consists in taking no action, and order will prevail. The way is empty, yet use will not drain it. Deep it is like the ancestor of the myriad creatures. Blunt the sharpness, untangle the knots, soften the glare. Let your wheels move along old ruts. Darkly visible, it only seems as if it were there. I know not whose son it is. It images the forefather of God. Heaven and earth are ruthless and treat the myriad creatures as straw dogs. The sage is ruthless and treats the people as straw dogs. Is not the space between heaven and earth like a bellows? It is empty without being exhausted. The more it works, the more comes out. Much speech leads inevitably to silence. To hold fast to the void. Spirit of the valley never dies. This is called the mysterious female, the gateway of the mysterious female. is called the root of heaven and earth. Dimly visible, it seems as if it were there, yet use will never drain it. Heaven and earth are enduring. The reason why heaven and earth can be enduring is that they do not give themselves life, hence they are able to be long lived. Therefore, the sage puts his person last and it comes first, treats it as extraneous to himself, and it is preserved. Is it not because he is without thought of self that he is able to accomplish his private ends? Highest good is like water, because water excels in benefiting the myriad creatures without contending with them, and settles where none would like to be. It comes close to the way. In a home, it is the site that matters. In quality of mind, it is depth that matters. In an ally, it is benevolence that matters. In speech, it is good faith that matters. In government, it is order that matters. In affairs, it is ability that matters. In action, it is timeliness that matters. It is because it does not contend that it is never at fault. Rather than fill it to the brim by keeping it upright, better to have stopped in time. Hammer, hammer it to a point, and the sharpness cannot be preserved forever. There may be gold and jade to fill a hall, but there is none who can keep them. Be overbearing when one has wealth or position is to bring calamity upon oneself. Retire when the task is accomplished is the way of heaven. And carrying on your head the perplexed bodily soul, can you embrace in your arms the one and not let go? In concentrating your breath, can you become supple as a babe? Can you polish your mysterious mirror and leave no blemish? Can you love the people and govern the state without resorting to action? When the gates of heaven open and shut, are you capable of keeping the role of the female? When your discernment penetrates the four quarters, are you capable of not knowing anything? It gives them life and rears them. It gives them life, yet claims no possession. It benefits them, yet exacts no gratitude. It is a steward, yet exercises no authority. Such is called the mysterious virtue. 30 spokes share one hub. Adapt the nothing therein to the purpose in hand, and you will have the use of the cart. Knead clay in order to make a vessel. Adapt the nothing therein to the purpose in hand, and you will have the use of the vessel. Cut out doors and windows in order to make a room. Adapt the nothing therein to the purpose in hand, and you will have the use of the room. Thus, what we gain is something, yet it is by virtue of nothing that this can be put to use. 5 colors make man's eyes blind. 5 notes make his ears deaf. 5 tastes injure his palate. Riding and hunting make his mind go wild with excitement. Goods hard to come by serve to hinder his progress. Hence the sage is for the belly, not for the eye. Therefore he discards the one and takes the other. Favour and disgrace are things that startle. High rank is, like one's body, a source of great trouble. What is meant by saying that favour and disgrace are things that startle? Favour, when it is bestowed on a subject, serves to startle as much as when it is withdrawn. This is what is meant by saying that favour and disgrace are things that startle. What is meant by saying that high rank is, like one's body, a source of great trouble? The reason I have a great trouble is that I have a body. When I no longer have a body, what trouble have I? Since he who values his body more than dominion over the empire can be entrusted with the empire. He who loves his body more than dominion over the empire can be given custody of the empire. What cannot be seen is called evanescent. What cannot be heard is called rarefied. What cannot be touched is called minute. These three cannot be fathomed, and so they are confused and looked upon as one. His upper part is not dazzling, his lower part is not obscure, dimly visible, it cannot be named, and returns to that which is without substance. This is called the shape that has no shape, the image that is without substance. This is called indistinct and shadowy. Go up to it, and you will not see its head. Follow behind it, and you will not see its rear. Hold fast to the way of antiquity, in order to keep in control the realm of today. The ability to know the beginning of antiquity is called the thread running through the way. Of old he was well versed in the way, was minutely subtle, mysteriously comprehending, and too profound to be known. It is because he could not be known that he can be given that he can only be given a makeshift description, tentative as if fording a river in winter, hesitant as if in fear of his neighbours, formal like a guest, falling apart like thawing ice, thick, thick like the uncarved block, vacant like a valley, murky like muddy water. Who can be muddy and yet stirring? Who can be muddy and yet settling, slowly become limpid? Who can be at rest and yet stirring, slowly come to life? He who holds fast to this way desires not to be full. It is because he is not full that he can be worn and newly and yet newly made. I do my utmost to attain emptiness. I hold firm to stillness. The myriad creatures all rise together, and I watch their return. The teeming creatures all return to their separate roots. Returning to one's roots is known as stillness. This is what is meant by returning to one's destiny. Returning to one's destiny is known as the constant. Knowledge of the constant is known as discernment. Woe to him who wilfully innovates while ignorant of the constant. But should one act from knowledge of the constant, one's action will lead to impartiality, impartiality to kingliness, kingliness to heaven, heaven to the way to perpetuity, and to the end of one's days, one will meet with no danger. Best of all rulers is but a shadowy presence to his subjects. Next comes the ruler they love and praise. Next, one they fear. Next comes one with whom they take liberties. When there is not enough faith, there is lack of good faith. Hesitant, he does not utter words lightly. When his task is accomplished and his work done, the people say, "It happened to us naturally." When the great way falls into disuse, there is benevolence and rectitude. When cleverness emerges, there is great hypocrisy. When the six relations are at variance, there are filial children. When the state is benighted, there are loyal ministers. Exterminate the sage, discard the wise, and the people will benefit a hundredfold. Exterminate benevolence, discard rectitude, and the people will again be filial. Exterminate ingenuity, discard profit, and there will be no thieves and bandits. These three, being false adornments, are not enough. The people must have something to which they can attach themselves. Exhibit the unadorned and embrace the uncarved block. Have little thought of self and as few desires as possible. Exterminate learning, and there will no longer be worries. Between yea and nay, how much difference is there? Between good and evil, how great is the distance? What others fear, one must also fear, and wax without having reached the limit. The multitude are joyous, as if partaking of the Tao offering, or going up to a terrace in spring. I alone am inactive and reveal no signs, like a baby that has not yet learned to smile, listless as though with no home to go back to. The multitude all have more than enough. I alone, I alone seem to be in want. My mind is that of a fool held blank. Vulgar people are clear. I alone am drowsy. Vulgar people are alert. I alone am muddled. Calm like the sea, like a high wind that never ceases. The multitude all have a purpose. I alone am foolish and uncouth. I alone am different from others, and value being fed by the mother. In this every moment, in his every moment, a man of great virtue follows the way and the way only. The way is shadowy and distinct, indistinct and shadowy, yet within is an image, shadowy and indistinct, and yet within is a substance, dim and dark, yet within is an essence. This essence is quite genuine, and within it is something that can be tested. From the present back to antiquity, its name never deserted it. It serves as a means for inspecting the fathers of the multitude. I do not know that the father. How do I know the fathers of the multitude are like that? Means of this: bound down and preserved, bent then straight, hollow then full, worn then new, a little then benefited, a lot then perplexed. Therefore, the sage embraces the one as a model for the empire. He does not show himself, and so is conspicuous. He does not consider himself right, so is illustrious. He does not brag, and so has merit. He does not boast, and so endures. It is because he does not contend that no one in the empire is in a position to contend with him. The way the ancients had it, held down and preserved, is no empty saying. Truly enables one to be preserved to the end. To use words rarely is to be natural. Since a gusty wind cannot last all morning, and a sudden downpour cannot last all day. Who is it that produces these? Heaven and earth. If heaven and earth cannot go on forever, how much less can man? This is why one follows the way. A man of the way conforms to the way. A man of virtue conforms to virtue. A man of loss conforms to loss. He who conforms to the way is gladly accepted by the way. He who conforms to virtue is gladly accepted by virtue. He who conforms to loss is gladly accepted by loss. When there is not enough faith, there is lack of good faith. He who tiptoes cannot stand. He who strides cannot walk. He who shows himself is not conspicuous. He who considers himself right is not illustrious. He who brags can have no merit. He who boasts will not endure. From the point of view of the way, these are excessive food and useless excrescences. As there are things that detest them, he who has the way does not abide in them. There is a thing confusedly formed, born before heaven and earth, silent and void, it stands alone and does not change, goes around and does not weary. It is capable of being the mother of the world. I know not its name, so I style it the way. I give it the makeshift name of the great. Being great, it is further described as receding. Receding, it is described as far away. Being far away, it is described as turning back. Hence, the way is great, heaven is great, earth is great, and the king is also great. Within the realm, there are four things that are great, and the king is counts as one. Man models himself on earth, earth on heaven, heaven on the way, and the way on that which natural is natural, and the way on that which is naturally so. Heavy the root of the light, still is the lord of the restless. Therefore, the gentleman, when travelling all day, never lets the heavily laden carts out of his sight. It's only when he is safely behind walls and watchtowers that he rests peacefully and is above worries. How then should a ruler of 10,000 chariots make light of his own person in the eyes of the empire? If light, the root is lost. If restless, then the Lord is lost. One who excels in travelling leaves no wheel tracks. One who excels in speech makes no slips. One who excels in reckoning uses no counting rods. One who excels in shutting uses no bolts, yet what he has shut cannot be opened. One who excels in tying uses no cords, yet what he has tied cannot be undone. Therefore, the sage always excels in saving people, and so abandons no one. Always excels in saving things, and so abandons nothing. This is called following one's discernment. Hence, the good man is the teacher the bad learns from, and the bad man is the material the good works on. Not to value the teacher, nor to love the material, though it seems clever, betrays great bewilderment. This is called the essential secret. Know the male, but keep to the role of the female, and be a ravine to the empire. If you are a ravine to the empire, the constant virtue will not then the constant virtue will not desert you, and you will again return to being a babe. Know the white, but keep to the role of the black, and be a model to the empire. If you are a model to the empire, the constant virtue will not be wanting. You will return to the infinite. Know honor, but keep to the role of the disgraced, and be a valet to the empire. If you are a valet to the empire, then the constant virtue will be sufficient, and you will return to being uncarved block. When the uncarved block shatters, it becomes vessels. The sage makes use of these and becomes the lord over the officials, as the greatest cutting does not sever. Whoever takes the empire and wishes to do anything to it, I see will have no respite. The empire is a sacred vessel, and nothing should be done to it. Whoever does anything to it will ruin it. Whoever lays hold of it will lose it. And some things lead and some follow. Some breathe gently, some breathe hard. Some are strong and some are weak. Some destroy and some are destroyed. Therefore, the sage avoids excess, extravagance, and arrogance. One who assists the ruler of men by means of the way does not intimidate the empire by show of arms. This is something which is liable to rebound. Where troops have encamped, there will brambles grow. In the wake of a great army, bad harvests follow without fail. One who is good aims only at bringing his campaign to a conclusion and dare not thereby intimidate. Bring it to a conclusion, but do not boast. Bring it to a conclusion, but do not brag. Bring it to a conclusion, but do not be arrogant. Bring it to a conclusion, but only when there is no choice. Bring it to a conclusion, but do not intimidate. A creature in its prime doing harm to the old is known as going against the way. That which goes against the way will come to an early end. It is because arms are instruments of ill omen, and there are things that detest them, that one has way, the one who has the way does not abide in their use. The gentleman gives precedence to the left when at home, but to the right when he goes to war. Arms are instruments of ill omen, not instruments of the gentleman. When one is compelled to use them, it is best to do so without relish. There is no glory in victory, and to glorify it despite this is to exult in the killing of men. One who exults in the killing of men will never have his way in the empire. On occasions of rejoicing, precedence is given to the left. On occasions of mourning, precedence is given to the right. The lieutenant's place is on the left. The general's place is on the right. This means that it is the mourning rites that are observed. When great numbers of people are killed, one should weep over them with sorrow. When victorious in war, one should observe mourning rite, the rites of mourning. The way is forever nameless. Though the uncarved block is small, no one in the world dare claim its allegiance. Should lords and princes be able to hold fast to it, the myriad creatures would submit of their own accord. Heaven and earth will unite, sweet dew will fall, and the people will be equitable, though no one so decrees. Only when it is cut are there names. As soon as there are names, one ought to know that it's time to stop. Knowing when to stop, one can be free from danger. The way is to the world as the river and sea are to the rivulets and streams. He who knows others is clever. He who knows himself has discernment. He who overcomes others has force. He who overcomes himself is strong. He who knows contentment is rich. He who preserves is a man of purpose. He who does not lose his station will endure. He who lives out his days has had a long life. The way is broad, reaching left as well as right. The myriad creatures depend on it for life, yet it claims no authority. It accomplishes its tasks, yet lays claim to no merit. It clothes and feeds the myriad creatures, lays claim to yet lays no claim to being their master. But ever free of desire can be called small, yet as it lays claim to being master, sorry, I'll read that again. Ever free of desire, it can be called small, yet as it lays no claim to being master, when the myriad creatures return to it, it can be called great. It is because it never attempts itself to become great that it succeeds in becoming great. When you hold the great image, the empire will come to you. coming to you and meeting with no harm. It will be safe and sound. Music and food will entice the wayfarer to stop. The way in its passage through the mouth is without flavour. It cannot be seen, it cannot be heard, yet it cannot be exhausted by use. If you would have things shrink, you must first stretch it. If you would have a thing weakened, you must first strengthen it. If you would have a thing laid aside, you must first set it up. If you would take from a thing, you must first give to it. This is called subtle discernment. Submissive and weak will overcome, hard and strong. Sorry, I'll read that again. This is called subtle discernment. Submissive and weak will overcome the hard and the strong. Fish must not be allowed to leave deep. Fish must not be allowed to leave the deep. Instruments of power in a state must not be revealed to anyone. The way never acts, yet nothing is left undone. Should lords and princes be able to hold fast to it, myriad creatures will be transformed of their own accord. After they have, after they are transformed, should desire raise its head, I shall press it down with the weight of the nameless uncarved block. The nameless uncarved block is freedom from desire. And if I cease to desire and remain still, the empire will be at peace of its own accord. Book 2. A man of the highest virtue does not keep to virtue, and that is why he has virtue. A man of the lowest virtue never strays from virtue, and that is why he is without virtue. The former never acts, yet leaves nothing undone. The latter acts, there are things left undone. A man of the highest benevolence acts, but from no ulterior motive. A man of the highest rectitude acts, but from ulterior motive. A man of the conversant in a man most conversant in the rites acts, but when no one responds, rolls up his sleeves and resorts to the persuasion by force. Hence the way Hence when the way was lost there is virtue. So I'll read that again. Hence when the way was lost there was virtue. When virtue was lost there was benevolence. When benevolence was lost there was rectitude. When rectitude was lost there were the rights. The rights are the wearing thin of loyalty and good faith, and the beginning of disorder. Foreknowledge is the flowery embellishment of the way, and the beginning of folly. Hence the man of large mind abides in the thick, not in the thin, in the fruit and not the flower. Hence he discards the one and takes the other. Of old these came to be in possession of the one. Heaven in virtue of the one is limpid. Earth in virtue of the one is settled. Gods in virtue of the one have their potencies. The valley in virtue of the one is full. The myriad creatures in virtue of the one are alive. Lords and princes in virtue of the one become leaders of the empire. It is the one that makes these what they are. Without what makes it limpid, heaven might split. Without what makes it settled, earth might sink. Without what gives them their potencies, gods might spend themselves. Without what makes it full, the valley might run dry. Without what keeps them alive, the myriad creatures might perish. Without what makes them leaders, lords and princes might fall. Hence the superior must have the inferior as root. The high must have the low as base. Lords and princes refer to themselves as solitary, desolate, hapless. This is taking the inferior as root, is it not? Hence, the highest renown is without renown, not wishing to be among, not wishing to be one among many, like jade, nor to be aloof, like stone. Turning back how the way moves, weakness is the means the way employs. The myriad creatures in the world born from something, and something from nothing. When the best student hears about the way, he practices it assiduously. When the average student hears about the way, it seems to him there one moment and gone the next. When the worst student hears about the way, he laughs out loud. If he did not laugh, it would be unworthy of being the way. Hence the Chen Yang has it. The way is that sorry, I'll read that again. Hence the Chen Yang has it. The way that is bright seems dull. The way that is forward seems to lead backward. The way that is the way that is even seems rough. Highest virtue, like the valley, the sheerest whiteness seems sullied. Ample virtue seems defective. Vigorous virtue seems indolent. Plain virtue seems soiled. The great square has no corners. The great vessel takes long to complete. The great note is rarefied in sound. The great image has no shape. The way conceals itself in being nameless. It is the way alone that excels in bestowing and in accomplishing. The way begets one begets two begets three begets the myriad creatures. Myriad creatures carry on their backs the yin and embrace in their arms the yang, and are the blending of the generative forces of the two. There are no words which men detest more than solitary, desolate, hapless. Yet lords and princes use these to refer to themselves. So a thing is sometimes added to by being diminished, and diminished being added to. What others teach, I also teach. The violent shall come to a natural Violence shall not come to a natural end. I shall take this as my precept. Exterminate learning, and there will no longer be worries. The most submissive thing in the world can ride roughshod over the hardest in the world. That which is without substance, entering that which has no crevices. This is why I know the benefit of resorting to no action. The teaching that uses no words, the benefit of resorting to no action, these are beyond the understanding of all but a very few in the world. Your name or your person, which is dearer? Your person or your goods, which is worth more? Gain or loss, which is a greater bane? That is why excessive meanness is sure to lead to great expense. Too much store is sure to end in immense loss. No contentment, and you will suffer no disgrace. Know when to stop, and you will meet with no danger. You can then endure. Great perfection seems chipped, yet use will not wear it out. Great fullness seems empty, yet use will not drain it. Great straightness seems bent, great skill seems awkward, great eloquence seems tongue-tied. Restlessness overcomes cold, stillness overcomes heat. Limpid and still, one can be a leader in the empire. When the way prevails in the empire, fleet-footed horses are relegated to ploughing the fields. When the way does not when the way does not prevail in the empire, war horses breed on the border. There's no crime greater than having too many desires. There's no disaster greater than not being content. There's no misfortune greater than being covetous. Hence, in being content, one will always have enough. Without stirring abroad, one can know the whole world. Without looking out the window, one can see the way of heaven. The further one goes, the less one knows. Therefore, the sage knows without having to stir, identifies without having to see, accomplishes without having to act. In the pursuit of learning, one knows more every day. In pursuit of the way, one does less every day. One does less and less until one does nothing at all. And when one does nothing at all, there is nothing that is undone. It is always through not meddling that the empire is won. Should you meddle, then you are not equal to the task of winning the empire. The sage has no mind of his own. He takes as his own the mind of the people. Those who are good I treat as good. Those who are not good I also treat as good. In so doing, I gain in goodness. Those who are of good faith, I have faith in. Those who are lacking in good faith, I also have faith in. In so doing, I gain in good faith. Sage, in his attempt to distract the mind of the empire, seeks urgently to muddle it. People all have something to occupy their ears. People all have something to occupy their eyes and ears, and the sage treats them all like children. When going when going one way means life and going the other means death, 3 and 10 will be comrades of life. 3 and 10 will be comrades of death, and there are those who value life and as a result move into the realm of death. And these also number 3 and 10. Why is this so? Because they set too much store by life. I've heard it said that one excels in safeguarding his own life. I've heard it said that one who excels in safeguarding his own life does not meet with rhinoceros or tiger when traveling on land, nor is he touched by weapons when charging into the army. There's nowhere for the rhinoceroses to pitch its horns. There's nowhere for the tiger to place its claws. There's nowhere for the weapon to lodge its blade. Why is this so? Because for him there is no realm of death. The way gives them life, virtue rears them, things give them shape, circumstances bring them to maturity. Therefore the myriad creatures all reserve Therefore the myriad creatures all revere the way and honour virtue. Yet the way is revered and virtue honoured not because it is decreed by any authority, but because it is natural for them to be treated so. Thus the way gives them life and rears them, brings them up and nurses them, brings them to fruition and maturity, feeds and shelters them, gives them life yet claims no possession. It benefits them yet exacts no gratitude. It is the steward yet exercises no authority. Such is called the mysterious virtue. The world had a beginning, and this beginning could be the mother of the world had a beginning, and this beginning could be the mother of the world. When you know the mother, go on to know the child. After you have known the child, go back to holding fast to the mother. And to the end of your days, you will will not meet with danger. All the openings, shut the doors, and all your life you will block the openings, shut the doors, and all your life you will not run dry. Unblock the openings into your troubles, and to the end of your days you will be beyond salvation. See, to see the small is called discernment. To hold fast to the submissive is called strength. Use the light, use the light, but give up the discernment. Bring not misfortune upon yourself. It is known as following the constant. Were I possessed of the least knowledge, I would, when walking on the great way, fear only paths that lead astray. The great way is easy, yet people prefer the bypaths. The court is corrupt, the fields are overgrown with weeds, the granaries are empty, yet there are those dressed in fineries, with swords at their sides, filled with food and drink, and possessed of too much wealth. This is known as taking the lead in robbery. Far indeed is this from the way. What is firmly rooted cannot be pulled out. What is tightly held in the arms will not slip loose. Through this, the offering of sacrifice by descendants will never come to an end. Cultivate it in your person, and its virtue will be genuine. Cultivate it in the family, and its virtue will be more than sufficient. Cultivate it in the hamlet, and its virtue will endure. Cultivate it in the state, and its virtue will abound. Cultivate it in the empire, and its virtue pervasive. Hence, look at the person through the person, look at the family through the family, look at the hamlet through the hamlet, look at the state through the state, look at the empire through the empire. How do I know the empire is like that? By means of this. One who possesses virtue in abundance is comparable to a newborn babe. Poisonous insects will not sting it. Ferocious animals will not pounce upon it. Predatory birds will not swoop down on it. Its bones are weak, and its sinews subtle, yet its hold is firm. It does not know the union of male and female, yet its male member will stir. This is because its virility is at its height. It howls all day, yet does not become hoarse. It is because its harmony is at its height. To know harmony is called the constant. To know the constant is called discernment. To try to add to one's vitality is called ill-omened. For the mind to egg on the breath is called violent. A creature in its prime doing harm to the old is known as going against the way. That which goes against the way will come to an early end. One who knows does not speak. One who speaks does not know. Block the openings, shut the doors, blunt the sharpness, untangle the knots, soften the glare. Let your wheels move only along old ruts. It is known as mysterious sameness. Hence, you cannot get close to it, nor can you keep it at arm's length. You cannot bestow benefit on it, nor can you do it harm. You cannot ennoble it, nor can you debase it. Therefore, it is valued by the empire. Govern the state by being straightforward. Wage war by being crafty. Win, win the empire not by being meddlesome. How do I know that this is? How do I know that it is like that? By means of this: the more taboos there are in the empire, the poorer the people. The more sharpened tools, the more sharpened tools the people have, the more benighted the state. The more skills the people have, the further novelties multiply. The better known the laws and edicts, the more thieves and robbers there are. Hence, the sage says, I take no action, and the people are transformed of themselves. I prefer stillness, and the people are rectified of themselves. I am not meddlesome, and the people prosper of themselves. I am free from desire, and the people of themselves become simple, like the uncarved block. The government is muddled. When the government is muddled, people are simple. When the government is alert, the people are cunning. It is on disaster that good fortune perches. It is beneath good fortune that disaster crouches. Who knows the limit? Does not the straightforward exist? The straightforward changes again into the crafty, and the good changes again into the monstrous. Indeed, it is long since the people were perplexed. Therefore, the sage is square-edged but does not scrape, has corners but does not jab, extends himself but not at the expense of others, shines but does not dazzle. Ruling the people and in serving heaven, it is best for a ruler to be sparing. It is because he is sparing that he may be said to follow the way from the start. Following the way from the start, he may be said to accumulate an abundance of virtue. Accumulating abundance of virtue, there is nothing he cannot overcome. When there is nothing he cannot overcome, no one knows his limit. When no one knows his limit, he can possess the state. When he possesses the mother of the state, he can then endure. This is called the way of deep roots, the firm stems by which one lives to see many days. Governing a large state is like boiling a small fish. When the empire is ruled in accordance with the way, spirits lose their potencies. Or rather, it is not that they lose their potencies, but that though they have their potencies, do not harm the people. It is not only they who, having their potencies, do not harm the people. The sage also does not harm the people. As neither does any harm, each attributes the merit to the other. A large state is the lower reaches of a river, the place where all streams of the river, the place where all the streams of the world unite. In the union of the world, the female always gets the better of the male by stillness. Being still, she takes the lower position. It's the large state, taking the lower position, annexes the small state. Small state, by taking the lower position, affiliates itself to the large state. The one, by taking the lower position, annexes. The other, by taking the lower position, is annexed. All that the large state wants is to take the other under its wing. All that the small state wants is to have its services accepted by the other. If each of the two wants to find its proper place, it is meet the large should take the lower position. Way is a refuge for the myriad creatures. It is that by which the good man protects, and that by which the bad is protected. Beautiful words when offered will win high rank in return. Beautiful deeds can raise a man above others. If a man is not good, why should he be abandoned? Hence, when the emperor is set up and the three judicial ministers are appointed, he who makes present of the way without stirring from his seat is preferable to one who offers presents of jade discs followed by a team of 4 horses. Why was this way valued of old? Was it not said that by means of it one got what one wanted and escaped the consequences when one transgressed? Therefore it is valued by the empire. Do that which consists in taking no action. Chew that which is not meddlesome. Savor that which has no flavor. Make the small big and the many and the few many. Do good to him who has done you an injury. Lay plans for the accomplishment of the difficult before it becomes difficult. Make something big by starting with it when small. Difficult things in the world must needs have their beginnings in the easy. Big things must needs have their beginnings in the small. Therefore, it is because the sage never attempts to be great that he succeeds in becoming great. One who makes promises rashly rarely keeps good faith. One who is in the habit of considering things easy meets with frequent difficulties. Therefore, even the sage treats some things as difficult. This is why, in the end, no difficulties can get the better of him. It is easy to maintain a situation while it is still secure. It is easy to deal with a situation before symptoms develop. It is easy to break a thing when it is yet brittle. It is easy to dissolve a thing when it is yet minute. Deal with a thing while it is still nothing. Keep a thing in order before disorder sets in. A tree that can fill the span of a man's arms grows from a downy tip. A terrace 9 stories high rises from hodfuls of earth. A journey of 1,000 miles starts from beneath one's feet. Whoever does anything to it will ruin it. Whoever lays hold of it will lose it. Therefore, the sage, because he does nothing, never ruins anything, and because he does not lay hold of anything, loses nothing. In enterprises, the people always ruin. In their enterprises, the people always ruin them when on the verge of success. Be as careful at the end as at the beginning, then there will be no ruined enterprises. Therefore, the sage desires not to desire, and does not value goods which are hard to come by, learns to be without learning, and makes good mistakes of the multitude, in order to help myriad creatures to be natural and to refrain from daring to act. Of old, Those who excelled in the pursuit of the way did not use it to enlighten people, but to hoodwink them. The reason why the people are difficult to govern is that they are too clever. Hence, to rule a state by cleverness will be to the detriment of the state. Not to rule the state by cleverness will be a boon to the state. These two are models. Always to know models is known as mysterious virtue. Mysterious virtue is profound and far-reaching, but when things turns back with them. Only then is complete conformity realized. The reason the river and the sea are able to be king of 100 valleys is that they excel in taking the lower position, since they are able to be the king of the 100 valleys. Therefore, desiring to rule the people, one must, in one's work. Therefore, desiring to rule the people, one must, in words, humble oneself before them. And desiring to lead the people, one must, in one's person, follow behind them. Therefore, the sage takes his place over the people, yet is no burden, takes his place ahead of the people, yet causes no obstruction. This is why the empire supports him joyfully and never tires of doing so. It is because he does not contend, no one in the empire is in a position to contend with him. The whole world says that my way is fast and resembles nothing. It is because it is vast that it resembles nothing. If it resembled anything, it would long before now become small. I have three treasures which I hold and cherish. The first is known as compassion. The second is known as frugality. The third is known as The third is known as not daring to take the lead in the empire. Being compassionate, one could afford to be courageous. Being frugal, one could afford to extend one's territory. Not daring to take the lead in the empire, one could afford to be lord over the vessels. Now, to forsake compassion for courage, to forsake frugality for expansion, to forsake the rear for the lead, sure to end in death. Through compassion, one will triumph in attack and will be impregnable in defense. What heaven secures, it protects with the gift of compassion. One who excels as a warrior does not appear formidable. One who excels in fighting is never aroused in anger. One who excels in defeating his enemy does not join issue. One who excels in employing others humbles himself before them. One who is known as the virtue, this is known as the virtue of non-contention. It is known as making use of the efforts of others. This is known as matching sublimity. This is known as matching the sublimity of heaven. The strategists have a saying, I dare not play the host, but play the guest. I dare not advance an inch, but retreat a foot instead. It is known as marching forward when there is no road, rolling up one's sleeves when there is no arm, dragging one's adversary by force when there is no adversary, and taking up arms when there are no arms. There's no disaster greater than taking on an enemy too easily. Doing so so doing nearly cost me my treasure. Of two sides raising arms against each other, it is the one that is sorrow stricken wins. My words are very easy to understand and very easy to put into practice. Yet no one in the world can understand them or put them into practice. Words have an ancestor and affairs have a sovereign. It is because people are ignorant that they fail to understand me. Those who understand me are few, those who harm me are honored. Therefore, the sage, while clad in homespun, seals on his person a priceless piece of jade. To know, yet to think that one does not know is best. Not to know, yet to think that one knows will lead to difficulty. It is by being alive to difficulty that one can avoid it. The sage meets with no difficulty. It is because he is alive to it that he meets with no difficulty. When the people lack a proper use, when people lack a proper sense of awe, and some awful visitation will descend upon them. Do not constrict their living space. Do not press down on their means of livelihood. It is because you do not press down on them that they will not weary of the burden. Hence the sage knows himself but does not display himself, loves himself but does not exalt himself. Therefore he discards the one and takes the other. He who is fearless is being He who is fearless in being bold will meet with his death. He who is fearless in being timid will stay alive. Of the two, one leads to good, the other to harm. Heaven hates what it hates. Who knows the reason why? Therefore, even the sage treats some things as difficult. The way of heaven excels in overcoming, though it does not contend, in responding, though it does not speak, in attracting, though it does not summon, in laying plans, though it appears slack. The net of heaven casts wide, though the mesh is not fine, yet nothing ever slips through. And the people are not afraid of death, wherefore frighten them with death. Were the people always afraid of death, and were able to test, put to death those who innovate, then who would dare? There is a regular executioner whose charge is to kill. To kill on behalf of the executioner is what is described as chopping wood on behalf of the master carpenter. In chopping wood on behalf of the master carpenter, there are few who escape hurting their own hands instead. The people are hungry. It is because those in authority eat up too much in taxes that the people are hungry. People are difficult to govern. It is because those in authority are too fond of action that the people are difficult to govern. People treat death lightly. It is because the people are set too much store in life that they treat death lightly. It is because one has no fear of life. Sorry, I'll write that again. It is just because one has no use for life that one is wiser than the man who values life. A man is subtle and weak when living, but hard and stiff when dead. Grass and trees are pliant and fragile when living, but dried and shriveled when dead. Thus the hard and strong are the comrades of death, subtle and weak are the comrades of life. Therefore, a weapon that is strong will not vanquish. A tree that is strong will suffer the axe. The strong and big takes the lower position. Subtle and the weak takes the higher position. It is not the way of heaven. It's not the way of heaven like the stretching of a bow. High, high it presses down, low it lifts up. Excessive takes from, deficient it gives to. It is the way of heaven to take from that which has excess in order to make good that which is deficient. The way of man is otherwise. It takes from those who are in want in order to offer to those who already have more than enough. Who is there that can take what he himself has in excess and offer it to the empire? Only the man of the way. Sorry, only he who has the way. For the sage benefits, yet exacts no gratitude, accomplishes his task, yet lays claim to no merit. Is this not because he does not wish to be considered a better man than others? In the world there is nothing more submissive than weak. In the world there is nothing more submissive and weak than water. Yet for attacking that which is hard and strong, nothing can surpass it. This is because there is nothing that can take its place. That the weak overcomes the strong, and the submissive overcomes the hard. Everyone in the world knows, everyone in the world knows, yet no one can put this knowledge into practice. Therefore, the sage says, one who takes on himself the humiliation of the state is called the ruler, worthy of offering sacrifices to the gods of earth and millet. One who takes on himself the calamity of the state is called a king worthy of dominion over the entire empire. Straightforward words seem paradoxical. When peace is made between great enemies, some enmity is bound to remain undispelled. How can this be considered perfect? Therefore, the sage takes the left hand tally, but exacts no payment from the people. The man of virtue takes charge of the tally. The man of no virtue takes charge of exaction. It is the way of heaven to show no favoritism. It is for ever on the side of the good man. Reduce the size of the population and the state. Ensure that even though the people have tools of war or a troop or a battalion, will not use them, and also that they will be reluctant to move to distant places because they look on death as no light matter. Even when they have ships and carts, they will use they will have no use for them. And even when they have armor and weapons, they will have no occasion to make a show of them. Bring it about that the people will return to the use of the knotted rope, will find relish in their food and beauty in their clothes, will be content in their abode and happy in their way of life. Adjoining states are within sight of one another, and the sound of dogs and barking and the sound of dogs barking and crows crowing in one state can be heard in another. The people of one state will grow old and die without having any dealings with those of another. Truthful words are not beautiful. Beautiful words are not truthful. Good words are not persuasive. Persuasive words are not good. He who knows has no wide learning. He who has wide learning does not know. The sage does not hoard. Having bestowed all he has on others, he has yet more. Having given all he has to others, he is richer still. The way of heaven benefits and does not harm. The way of sage is bountiful and does not contend. Okay, thank you everyone for listening. Hope you have a wonderful rest of the day. Cheers. Bye.